Hello viewers, yes, this is Ranjana ma'am and you are watching Yes as your channel. So it is coming a bit late because I was under the impression that I had uploaded it and then I see that no, I haven't done, so that is why sorry for the delay. So who is the author of this story, The Boy Who Broke the Bank? Who else? It's Ruskin Bond. Ruskin Bond is my favorite. He's written so many short stories and all of them very interesting. I've noticed one thing, that Ruskin Bond is very fond of tunnel. Well, in this story I don't find any tunnel, but this story tells us how rumors can be damaging. You say something and another person adds a little spice to it, or another person misinterprets it, and it goes round and round, and finally it is very different from the real truth. Suppose I say, my friend is Ram, he has a dog, and then it goes on circulating, and finally it happens that when it reaches Ram, he hears that I have said my friend Ram is a dog. Naturally he'll get angry with me. So it is very different from the real truth. So this story is also similar. What really happened and how it was interpreted, how it was represented, it's very different. So Ruskin Bond has the art of making interesting stories from small facts. So let's start with The Boy Who Broke the Bank. So I always suggest my students, I mean my online students also, that please read the box. The box means the previous page where it is written about the author. So I'll first start with that and then I'll proceed. So not all lines, only the ones which are important. So in the second paragraph, The Boy Who Broke the Bank, Ruskin Bond, in a deftly worded hyperbole, shows us the damage a carelessly spoken word can wreak. So the word had been spoken in a careless manner, but it got exaggerated, and finally it resulted in the bank getting bankrupt, or rather the bank getting broken. The story is almost allegorical in its narrative. It revolves around how one person tells another that there is no money in the bank. This news spreads rapidly from person to person, each adding his or her interpretation. Yeah, a little bit of masala, spice. And the opinion becomes more important than the facts. So fact is something, and everyone is adding his or her opinion, so it gets altered again and again and again. The truth gets hidden, and then finally the truth is lost. And not only that, another theme is the plight of children forced to work. The frightening effect of rumors and untruths finds powerful expression in this story. Yes, truth gets hidden by the rumors and untruths. So we are going to study this story, The Boy Who Broke the Bank. So what are we waiting for? But you know what's coming. Yes, before I start, I would like to remind you, please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to press the like button. So yes, we are back again, and now for the story, The Boy Who Broke the Bank. Nathu grumbled to himself as he swept the steps of the People Nagar Bank, owned by Seth Govindram. So Nathu is a sweeper. His job is to sweep the bank, the premises and the steps and all that. And this is not a government bank. This is a story from the past. So when banks were owned by people, so the owner of this bank is Seth Govindram. He used the small broom hurriedly. He here refers to Nathu. He used the small broom hurriedly and carelessly. Why? Because he is quite irritated. He is not happy with his job at the bank. And why? And the dust, after rising in a cloud above his head, settled down again on the steps. So, first what does he do? He sweeps it in such a careless manner that it goes on rising and then again back. So, what's the use of sweeping? He had swept it, but ultimately what happens is that the place is not clean. As Nathu was banging his pan against a dustbin, so the pan with which he collects the dust, and he is banging against a dustbin. So what happens at that time? Sitaram, the washerman's son, passed by. So both are young. Sitaram, who is he? He is the son of the dhobi, washerman. So he is passing, he has to give the clothes to the houses of his customers after they have been washed and ironed and all that. So he meets Nathu. Sitaram was on his delivery round. That is what I said. His job was at this moment to deliver the clothes. Most probably the people, his father and even he, they must have, he's the washerman's son, so he must have helped his father to wash the clothes and iron it, and now it's his job to deliver them to his customers. He had a bundle of freshly pressed clothes balanced on his head. "Don't raise such dust," he called out to Nathu. "Are you annoyed because they are still refusing to pay you an extra 2 rupees a month?" So that means he is aware of Nathu's plight. So he is telling, why are you banging and raising the dust? Have your owner have your employer refused you the 2 rupees a month which you had demanded? It is an extra one. That means a rise in the pay. He had asked it, but he has not got it. And so Sitaram thinks that this could be the reason why he seems to be angry and he is raising such dust. But fact is something different. "I don't wish to talk about it," complained the sweeper boy. "I haven't even received my regular pay." "What are you talking about? The raise in pay? They haven't given me my salary only. And this is the 20th of the month. So 20 days have passed and they haven't given me the salary of the previous month. Who would think a bank would hold up a poor man's salary? So they are holding up my salary. Is it possible that a bank cannot afford to pay a sweeper? As soon as I get my money, I am off. So I am going to leave this job as soon as I get my money. Not another week I work in this place. So he is very annoyed. I'm not going to wait for another week. That means if he gets his pay now, he won't wait for another week to complete the month, because 20th has already passed. So the moment I get my money, I'll just leave. And Nathu banged the pan against the dustbin several times just to emphasize his point and giving himself confidence. So yes, he is banging the pan on the dustbin. Why? To show his annoyance. He is very annoyed, frustrated, disappointed, angry. "Well, I wish you luck," said Sitaram. "I'll keep a lookout for any job that might suit you." So he offers a helping hand. Okay, good luck. And I'll be on the lookout. If I see someone needs a helping hand, I'll just let you know about it. And he plodded barefoot along the road, the big bundle of clothes hiding most of his head and shoulders. So yes, the bundle of clothes on his head and barefoot. Nowadays you won't find them in that way. Nowadays many of them come in scooters. with the bundle behind and in the seat behind him, the pillion rider's place. The bundle tied neatly, and then he'll come and he'll deliver it to you and he'll go. But in those days it was a difficult job, walking barefoot with a bundle of clothes on his head. At the fourth home he visited. So after that he has already visited 3 homes, and at the fourth home he finds an opportunity for his friend. Sitaram heard the lady of the house mention that she was in need of a sweeper. Good luck for Nathu. Tying his bundle together, he said, I know of a sweeper boy who's looking for work. So immediately the thought of Nathu comes to his mind, and he suggests, I know a boy. He can start from next month. He is with the bank now, but they aren't giving him his pay and he wants to leave. They aren't giving him his pay and he wants to leave. He has said the right thing. He hasn't said anything wrong, but see how things will get exaggerated. Is that so? Said Mrs. Srivastav. So she's the lady. Well, tell him to come and see me tomorrow. So she is in need of a sweeper boy, so she is happy. And Sitaram, glad that he had been of service to both a customer and his friend. Customer, Mrs. Srivastav, she needs a sweeper boy. Nathu needs a job. So he is being helpful to both of them. Hoisted his bag on his shoulders and went his way. Mrs. Srivastav had to do some shopping. She gave instructions to the ayah, sort of nurse. Not that, a little lower than that. Yeah. So about looking after the baby. So the ayah is in charge of the baby. And told the cook not to be late with the midday meal. Then she set out for People Nagar marketplace to make her customary tour of the cloth shops. So every day, most probably it's her favorite pastime to go and visit the shops of cloth shops. So she manages her house and then goes out. A large shady tamarind tree grew at one end of the bazaar, and it was here that Mrs. Srivastav found her friend Mrs. Bhushan sheltering from the heat. So tamarind tree, you know it, what is tamarind? Imli. And Mrs. Srivastav, whom does she find under the shade of the tree? Her friend Mrs. Bhushan. Mrs. Bhushan was fanning herself with a large handkerchief. She complained of the summer, which she affirmed was definitely the hottest in the history of People Nagar. So every year we say this is the hottest year. So she also said that this is the hottest year in the history of People Nagar. She then showed Mrs. Srivastav a sample of the cloth she was going to buy. So she says, see, this is the sample. I have chosen it, so I want to buy this one. And for 5 minutes they discussed its shade, texture and design. So how is the shade? Yeah, it's good. Texture, design. Having exhausted this topic, so having done with this topic, there is nothing more to discuss on this topic. So now what does Mrs. Srivastav do? Mrs. Srivastav said, do you know, my dear, that Seth Govindram's bank can't even pay its employees. Only this morning I heard a complaint from their sweeper who hasn't received his wages for over a month. This is wrong. She didn't hear it from the sweeper. It was Sitaram who heard from the sweeper, and he reported it to Mrs. Srivastav. And she is telling Mrs. Bhushan that I heard a complaint from the sweeper who hasn't received his wages for over a month. Now see how the thing gets a bit twisted. Shocking, remarked Mrs. Bhushan. If they can't pay the sweeper, they must be in a bad way. Yeah, they must be suffering a financial crisis. None of the others could be getting paid either. So if the sweeper is not being paid, then the others also must be, their salary also must have been held up. She left Mrs. Srivastav at the tamarind tree and went in search of her husband. Just see how rumors start. Who was sitting in front of Kamal Kishore's photographic shop, talking with the owner. So what is Mr. Bhushan doing? He is sitting in front of the photographic shop, a studio, and he was talking to the owner. So there you are, cried Mrs. Bhushan. I've been looking for you for almost an hour. No, she was just sheltering. She was standing in the shelter of the tamarind tree and having a cozy chat with her friend. And now what she says, I've been looking for you for almost an hour. This is a blatant lie. Where did you disappear? Nowhere, replied Mr. Bhushan. Had you remained stationary in one shop, I might have found you. But you go from one shop to another like a bee in a flower garden. So Mr. Bhushan knows his wife and he says, no, I didn't go anywhere. So you don't remain in one shop. You go flitting from one shop to the other just like a bee keeps on flitting from one flower to the other. And that is why I couldn't find you. Don't start grumbling. The heat is trying enough. I don't know what's happening to people, Nagar. Even the bank's about to go bankrupt. What connection? Talking of the heat, talking about her husband's disappearance, and then she adds the topic of the bank here. What's that? Said Kamal Kishore. Kamal Kishore is not her husband. Kamal Kishore is the man who owns the photographic shop. So he hears this and he gets charged up, sitting up suddenly. Which bank? Why, the People Nagar Bank, of course. I hear they have stopped paying employees. They have stopped paying employees. Just see the exaggeration. She gets to know from Sitaram that the sweeper has not been paid. So if the sweeper has not been paid, Mrs. Srivastav thought they might not be paying the other employees. So from Mrs. Srivastav to Mrs. Bhushan. And now Kamal Kishore hears it. Don't tell me you have an account there, Mr. Kishore. So Mr. Kishore, do you have an account there? No, but my neighbor has. No, I don't have an account there, but my neighbor has, he exclaimed, and he called out over the low partition to the keeper of the barber shop next door. So the neighbor is the barber. So he calls out to the barber and says, Deep Chand, have you heard the latest? The People Nagar Bank is about to collapse. You'd better get your money out as soon as you can. So go and get your money, because anytime if you go late you might not get your money again. So please go and collect your money as much as you have and come back. Deep Chand, who was cutting the hair of an elderly gentleman, was so startled that his hand shook. So hand started trembling and he nicked his customer's right ear. Oh my God. So what happened? He became nervous and his hand started shaking and he injured the ears of the customer. The customer yelped with pain. So he shouts in pain and distress. Pain because of the cut and distress because of the awful news he had just heard. So even the customer seems to be affected by the news. So just see how first it is Mrs. Srivastav, Mrs. Bhushan, Mr. Bhushan, Mr. Kamal Kishore, and now Deep Chand and Deep Chand's customer. With one side of his neck still unshaven, he sped across the road to the general merchant shop where there was a telephone. So he jumps from that seat where he was getting shaved, half shaving done, the other part still not done, and he doesn't bother because money is more important. So he rushes out of the shop to the telephone booth. He dialed Seth Govindram's number. The Seth was not at home. Where was he then? The Seth was holidaying in Kashmir. Poor Seth, he has gone to Kashmir to enjoy a holiday, and just see what is happening. Oh, what's that so? So they don't believe he's gone holidaying to Kashmir. They feel that he must have gone underground. Why? Because he suffered a bankruptcy. The elderly gentleman did not believe it. He hurried back to the barber's shop and told Deep Chand, the bird has flown. Chidiya ud gayi. The bird has flown. Seth Govindram has left town. He is not in the town. Definitely it means a collapse. So since he's not in the town means something fishy. It must mean a collapse. And he dashed out of the shop making a beeline for his office and checkbook. So he runs towards his office and checkbook. Why? Because he will go and draw all the money that he has deposited in the bank earlier. He had his account in the bank. The news spread through the bazaar with the rapidity of forest fire. So forest fires now, they spread very fast. By the time you are aware and you try to escape, you will be burnt to death. And that is what happens to the animals. Before they understand and try to run away, it spreads so fast that many of them get burnt. Only last year, I think, it happened in Australia. So many animals died on account of the forest fire. From the general merchants, it traveled to the shop, circulated amongst the customers, and then spread them in various directions to the beetle seller, the tailor, the free vendor, the jeweler, the beggar sitting on the pavement. So, general merchant and then the shopkeepers, and in this way the news keeps on spreading. Finally, it reaches the beggar, and just see the reaction of the beggar. Old Ganpat, he is the beggar. The beggar had a crooked leg. He had been squatting on the pavement for years calling for alms. So please give me some money. For years he has been begging in this way. And the moment he hears the financial crisis of the bank, what does he do? In the evening, someone would come with a barrow and take him away. This was habitual. He would be sitting and begging for alms. He had a crooked leg. He could not walk properly. And in the evening, a family member or someone would come, put him in that barrow and take him home. But now see what happens. He had never been known to walk, so nobody had seen him walking. But now, on learning that the bank was about to collapse, Ganpat astonished everyone by leaping to his feet and actually running at top speed in the direction of the bank. So what does it mean? That he was a fraud. He had no problem with his legs. He just enacted the role of a cripple to get money. But now when he hears that the bank is about to collapse, he doesn't care whether people get to know that he can walk or not, but he starts running at the topmost speed. It soon became known that he had 1,000 rupees in savings. So by begging, he had amassed more than 1,000 rupees. So these were his savings in the bank and he wants to draw it. Men stood in groups at street corners discussing the situation. So yes, it is quite alarming. The bank is about to collapse, but in reality it is nothing so. Some people have a habit of delaying the wages of the employees to stop them from leaving, because if you give them on the 1st or the 2nd of the month, on the 3rd they might leave. But if you give them after half a month, they would think that if I leave now, I won't get the money for these 15 or 20 days. So that is the best way to keep your employee. That is why most probably they had held his money, held his salary. But people, when he says this, and people interpret it wrongly, and just see the alarm in the city. People Nagar seldom had a crisis, seldom or never had floods, earthquakes or drought. So the life was very peaceful here in People Nagar. So this must be very alarming for them. Never a flood, never earthquakes, never drought, never crisis, and this is the first time they are facing a crisis. And the imminent crash of the People Nagar bank set everyone talking and speculating and rushing about in frenzy. So they are rushing about in a mad-like fashion. Some boasted of their farsightedness. Some said, just see, I did not deposit my money in the bank. I knew it was coming. I'm so farsighted. congratulating themselves on having already taken out their money. So we have already taken out our money from the bank. I knew it. This was going to happen. So farsighted. Or on never having put any. And others, those who had not put their money in the bank, had no account, they also boasted, oh, we haven't kept any money in the bank. And others speculated on the reasons for the cash, putting it all down to excesses indulged in by Seth Govindram. And some were discussing, why is this crash? What is responsible? What are the causes for this crash? So some of them would be blaming Seth Govindram. He is a spendthrift. He spends a lot of money in his lifestyle, and that is why most probably the bank has collapsed. The Seth had fled the state, said one. So one said, oh, he's left the state and run away. He had fled the country, said another. He was hiding in People Nagar, said a third. So different people, different versions. One is saying, oh, he's left the state. One is saying he's left the country. Someone is saying, no, he's in the town only. He's underground. He's hiding somewhere. He had hanged himself from a tamarind tree. And the fourth one says, oh, he has committed suicide. Khudkushi, suicide. And had been found that morning by the sweeper boy. And the sweeper boy found him in the morning. So outrageous lies. They keep on adding. By noon, the small bank had gone through all its ready cash. So one by one, the people are drawing their money, and the harassed manager was in a dilemma. So the manager was in a state of confusion. He is being harassed. Please give our money soon. So by that time it was afternoon, this money which was in the bank was exhausted. You don't keep all the money in the bank, na? Emergency funds could only be obtained from another bank some 30 miles distant. So in order to get emergency funds, you couldn't get it immediately. You will have to go to a nearby bank, and this bank was 30 miles. And he wasn't sure he could persuade the crowd to wait until then. And he was in a dilemma. He was in a state of confusion. He didn't know, if I tell the public that we have to bring the money from the other bank which is 30 miles, if they would listen to him. And there was no way of contacting Seth Govindram in his houseboat in Kashmir. And Govindram is holidaying in Kashmir. He is in his houseboat, and no way. It's not that you call the mobile. Nowadays the things are so easy, but it wasn't so in the past. So yes, those were the landline days, and that also, yeah, he would be having, but not in Kashmir. In Kashmir he would have to be contacted through the landline in the hotel, but he is in the houseboat. So how to contact him? So now all the trouble will have to be faced by the manager. People were turned back from the counters and told to return the following day. See, no more cash in the bank at this moment. You all go home. Come tomorrow. You all will get your money. They did not like the sound of that, and they felt something is cooking up. If we leave and go, he will also run away. Then who will we catch? And so they gathered outside on the steps of the bank shouting, give us our money or we'll break in. So what is the use of breaking in? If the money is not there, you won't get it. And fetch the Seth. We know he is hiding in a safe deposit locker. So go and bring the Seth out. He is hiding in a locker. Mischief makers who didn't have a paisa in the bank joined the crowd and aggravated in the mood. Yeah, some mischief makers are there. They are up to no good. They just create nuisance. They just add to the confusion. So they don't have any money in the bank, some of them, but they are just adding fuel to the fire. The manager stood at the door trying to placate them, trying to cool them, trying to reason with them, pacify them. He declared that the bank had plenty of money but no immediate means of collecting. Don't worry, there is a lot of money in the bank. But at this moment, it's difficult to collect the money. He urged them to go home and come back the next day. Please go home now. When you come back tomorrow, by then the money would be arranged. Rest assured. But the people are suspicious. They don't believe him. We want it now, chanted some of the crowd. Why? Because many of them have already got their money and walked off. And that is what has made the treasury empty. So now he will have to go and get the money, or get the money from another bank, emergency fund. Now, and the common public, the crowd, they won't hear any reason. And a brick hurtled through the air and crashed through the plate glass window of the People Nagar Bank. So, someone hurls a brick and it breaks the plate glass window of the bank. Nathu arrived the next morning to sweep the steps of the bank. So Nathu comes as usual the next day. He doesn't know that his words or his complaint is responsible for such a turbulence, such a commotion in the town of People Nagar, in front of the bank of People Nagar. Poor fellow, he is not aware that he is responsible for all this. That is why the chapter has the title, The Boy Who Broke the Bank. He did not break the bank, but his complaint that they are not paying me the money. And this gives rise to such rumors. Raising his hands in a gesture of horror and disgust, he cried, "Hooligans, sons of donkeys!" Whom is he referring to? The crowd who had broken the glass of the People Nagar Bank. "As though it isn't bad enough to be paid late, it seems my work has also to be increased." He smote the steps with his broom, scattering the refuse. So they are not paying me. They are delaying my pay. He doesn't say not paying me. They are delaying my pay and they have increased my work. Why these scattered pieces of glass? As it is, he has to sweep the dust, and now along with the dust, the glass also. "Good morning, Nathu," said the washerman's boy, Sitaram, getting down from his bicycle. Yesterday he was walking, today he is on his bicycle. "Are you ready to take up a new job from the 1st of the month?" So he had already arranged. He had a talk with Mrs. Srivastav. She needs a sweeper boy. So now he has come to tell Nathu about it. "You'll have to, I suppose, now that the bank is going out of business." But Sitaram knows that the bank is going out of business. How is that? Just see the irony. Nathu had complained that he had not got his salary. They had held his salary till the 20th. And now all these rumors take place and the bank, the news has spread that the bank has collapsed. So Sitaram has also got the news. "Haven't you heard? Well, you'd better wait here until half the population of People Nagar arrives to claim their money. So you just wait here and see. Soon half of People Nagar will come to get their money." Why? Because finally they had to leave, because the manager had told that they won't get any money today, but tomorrow they can come and claim it. So they will come and claim it. And he waved cheerfully. He did not have a bank account and sped away in his cycle. Why? He is at peace. He doesn't have a bank account, so he doesn't need to be bothered about the bankruptcy. Nathu went back to sweeping the steps, muttering to himself. When he had finished his work, he sat down on the highest step to await the arrival of the manager. So he is waiting for the manager to come. Why? I want my pay and I want to leave the job and go. Because now he feels that since the bank is going out of business, they might not give me my pay at all. Who would have thought that the bank would collapse? He said to himself and looked thoughtfully into the distance. I wonder how it could have happened. So he wonders how it could have happened, but he doesn't know that he himself is responsible for the bank collapsing or the bank getting out of business. Had he not complained to Sitaram, but poor fellow, he had just said it because that is what had been done. For 20 days he had not been paid of the previous month. And how things get changed, lie after lie or untruth after untruth, changing the real truth. Whereas Seth Govindaram is holidaying in Kashmir, if the bank had gone out of business, would he have done that? No, it's not the fact. But this is what has happened, and he is responsible for it, but he doesn't know that. He doesn't know that it was because of him that all the people who had their account in this bank, they had withdrawn the money thinking that the bank had gone bankrupt. So this is the story, and I'm sure you liked it. Go through the MCQs. No, I haven't given any MCQs, so you must be having them in your workbook. So read each and every line thoroughly, because there are quite a few characters and it's very easy to get confused. You will get confused. There are so many characters. First is Nathu, then there is Sitaram, Mrs. Srivastav, Mrs. Bhushan, Mr. Bhushan, Kamal Kishore, then Deep Chand, and after that no names. Seth Govindaram. So 8 characters I have already told, and after that also that customer in the barber shop, and then yes, what is the name of that Ganpat, another character, the beggar. So you'll have to remember the names for your MCQ. Okay, so this is for today. We are meeting in the next video.